All right. Hey everyone, let me know if you guys can hear me in the chat. I just want to make sure all this stuff is working since this is only the, well, I guess it's not the second stream I've done on my channel. No, I've done a few before, but it's been a while, and I have a bit of a new setup with how I'm connecting up and using my mic this time. All right, so again, I'm just trying to make sure that the audio is coming through and being streamed to YouTube. Awesome. Okay, so the first thing I really want to cover here with the preview, well, we're inside the new third-person template. This structure over here is something I threw together. It's not part of the template, but it's really been updated and it looks much more modern, and I really like the new look for the third-person template. They've also updated the first-person template and the top-down template, though I've not checked out the top-down template yet. But I've created this box structure over here to show you guys some things with Lumen, and it has really improved since the early access release of Unreal Engine 5. It's a lot faster to update, and I'll try to show that here just by sliding this up and down. It's not immediate, but it still is much faster, and it's easier to see if I slide this roof panel along. And all that splashiness and noise that was in Lumen in the early access, at least on my side, on my computer, is pretty much not completely gone. I haven't noticed any of it from any sort of lighting that I've played around with so far. Now I have this emissive sphere here with physics enabled, and if I play, nothing has changed with the animation on the third-person character. The graph itself has changed, but the end result is the same as Unreal Engine 4. I'm curious to see if any of the new animation features are worked into the third-person character example project. Maybe in a second preview or in a full release. But before, with emissive materials lighting up areas, it would get really noisy, and that isn't really the case here. There is this sort of dark halo around the sphere, but I can roll it around and the lighting really does update fast. And that is just such an improvement over early access. As cool as that Lumen was in the demos they released and all that stuff in early access, getting it hands-on, it was exciting, but there are so many little things that were just a bit off about it that I was worried, and it seems like they've fixed all of that, at least to my knowledge, from what I can see so far, including the performance. If I show my FPS here, I'm running at 100 right now because I am streaming. But usually if I'm not streaming, okay, now it's back up to about 120, but I'm hitting usually 120. It's actually also going to be a bit lower now since I've increased the quality settings for Lumen in this post-process volume. Instead of the default being 2, the default's now 1, and I get a solid 120 frames per second. Alright, sure, yeah, I'll turn off the eye adaptation. That's actually off by default, which is really nice. Well, by default inside of the post-process volume that comes with this third-person example project. But I turned it on when doing a little bit of testing earlier, so I'll gladly turn that back off. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, the lag will continue to be reduced, I'm sure. But I think already it is a whole lot better than it was before, and that just has me excited to see where things go from here. So performance is back up to normal, what I'd expect from Unreal Engine 4, even with Lumen and virtual shadow maps. But one thing that I wanted to really focus on was something someone actually sent me in Discord about half an hour to an hour ago, and there's a forum post on the Unreal Engine forums on getting distance matching to work in the Unreal Engine 5 preview. And I wanted to go over a little bit of that with you guys here in this stream. I've been trying to get this set up, so I haven't had a lot of time to look over it. So I'm going to start looking over it while I stream. But first and foremost, we need to enable a plugin, animation locomotion library. This one right here. I already have it enabled, but it adds lots of the distance matching functionality into the editor. It gives us modifiers, and I have a couple of its headers opened up here inside of Visual Studio. And I wanted to scroll through some of the functions it has here because I was just curious, and I figured I'd show you guys too. Not much has happened. I've gone over the improvements in Lumen, just in what I can tell visually, and performance with Lumen and virtual shadow maps briefly, and well, I get a solid 120 frames per second, which is where Unreal Engine 4 caps out in the editor, and I'm not getting that right now because I'm streaming, but that is there's just been a big performance increase, so that's where we're at right now. And now I'm just covering some of the functions. These are blueprint functions, but I pulled up the Visual Studio files. I was going to take a peek at the code, but for now I'm just going to scroll through them and show you guys what's in this Locomotion library plugin. So first we have a, let's see, sequence evaluator node that is playing an animation based on the distance traveled, so it's like what would be using for start animations with distance matching. The Locomotion library plugin has one for getting closer to a point. This one here also has it sets the play rate of the sequence player so that the speed of the animation matches the in-game movement speed. So this is sort of adjusting the play rate automatically, it looks like. I'm not sure. I'll have to pull this up in an animation graph because that's something you could do with just regular animation playing nodes before. So I'm not sure exactly what the difference is here. We'll have to look at that. But there's also stride warping, not in this plugin, but in another built-in plugin for distance matching inside of the Unreal Engine 5 preview. And there are also two animation modifiers, one that gives you, oh wait, that's not the file I opened. Well, I'll show you guys that in the engine. This here we have essentially our two prediction nodes. that predict pivots and stops. We're going to be looking through, I'm going to try to touch on all of this in this stream. But I just wanted to briefly go over that and actually get to those code files if anyone wants to look through them. You guys can go to settings in your content browser, show engine content, show plugin content, then under engine plugins, you'll find the animation locomotion library once you have that plugin enabled, and you can pull up the public C++ header files. You'll have to actually go into the file structure on your computer to pull up the actual C++ files if you want to look into that. So anyway, I have this guide here. I'll go ahead and link it to you guys in chat, but I'm going to go through it on my end, and I'm going to start going through the process. This is the first time I've touched anything with distance matching in Unreal Engine 5 preview, so it's going to be a learning process for all of us here because I'm learning it right now. So here is that forum post that was given to me in the Discord. And for you guys who don't have a link to the Discord, or aren't in the Discord, I will go ahead and share an invite link right now. I'm just going to grab it real quick here. Okay. So I have actually I have an animation pack that I've put in this project. It's the Cubold Movement Anim Set Pro from the Unreal Engine Marketplace. I don't think it's available for any of the 5.0 or early access or preview versions. I just threw it in a 4.27 project and then just copied the actual UAsset files over into the content folder of this project, and then I deleted out the skeleton for the mannequin inside the Movement Anim Set Pro, and I replaced the reference with the regular mannequin skeleton that's already here inside of this project. And so this pack is a pretty good one. There's other packs on the marketplace. When I do another distance matching series, I'll certainly be using an actual marketplace animation pack. But second, I'm gonna get a drink here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be using the Movement Anim Set Pro or not. There are a couple others. There's one that is going to supposedly be coming out fairly soon that I'm excited to see. I'm not sure if it's public who's making it or if this person wants it to be public, so I'm not going to say anything right now about it, but I'm going to figure out which one is best for the series that I want to make, and then I will use that. But this is the one I have currently and the one I have in the project, and it's pretty good, so it's the one we're going to go with for this stream. So there's lots of locomotion animations here, but for now I'm going to open up the animation blueprint that comes with the project here. So if we go to this locomotion graph again, I am following along with this forum post for the time being because I didn't have time to look at it before I started the stream. And I'm just going to grab a I don't remember the names of the animations in this pack. Alright, it looks like whatever I did updating those references, see if I can. That'll let me drag it in. So okay. So I have this run forward loop, and I'm actually going to use the root motion without processing the root motion, I think. That way when we go to add in curves, it'll add in the curves, but we won't be using root motion in our actual animation blueprint. The better way to do this would be to generate the curves on the root motion animations and then copy the curves with another modifier, like what's inside the advanced locomotion system. There's a great modifier that just copies curves and copy them onto in-place animations. But since this is a stream where I'm just trying to figure this stuff out, I figured I'd just go ahead and not take the extra time to do that, since we'll get pretty much the same effect, and the cons of that method won't really present themselves to us here. So I replaced this blend space, and it reminds me, another thing, floats have been replaced with reels in Unreal Engine 5 Preview 1. I'm not sure exactly why. There's definitely a reason, but I haven't looked into it to see what that reason is, but from what I've heard, things still work just fine upgrading Unreal Engine 4 projects. And second, I want to know if you guys can still hear me. YouTube is telling me that my audio bitrate dropped down to 0. But it's also telling me, yeah. Okay. In case you guys didn't hear that. Alright, still there? Awesome. Cool. So YouTube just doesn't know what it's talking about. It's fine. So where were we? Okay, that's right. So just following along with this forum post here, I'm gonna read through it. Select any anim node in your graph and you'll see a place for an update function. So yep, right here on update. It says to select the option and create a binding. And you'll be presented with a blueprint graph where you can use one of the 3 distance matching nodes. Here's an example of setting up the advanced time by distance matching node. And there's an image here. I'm just going to really quickly follow out that logic. Now, again, I'm not sure where all this is leading. I'm following along with someone else's guide in the forums that I linked for anyone who's joined. And we are sort of learning this together, how distance matching has been incorporated into Unreal Engine 5 into the Unreal Engine 5 preview. So I'm getting a branch, I'm getting this node, and I'm converting it to, and I'm typing what I'm saying, whoops, to a sequence evaluator. I'm using the pure function to do that. And I'm going to drag out from that, and I'm going to get this advanced time by distance matching node. I'm not sure why this was put on a run forward loop. I'm just, again, following along with the forum post, so we'll see. I'm going to plug context in. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely explain what distance matching is. So distance matching is an animation technique used inside of Paragon, developed by Epic Games, and it's really what's commonly called distance matching is commonly referred to as distance matching is 2 things. There's distance matching and there's motion warping. Motion warping is stride warping, orientation warping, stroke warping. What did I mispronounce? I lost my train of thought. So let me start over with that. Because I completely mispronounced the word. I was gonna say stride warping. So stride warping, orientation warping, slope warping. That's it. Those three things. And then there's distance matching. Distance matching essentially takes the distance you've traveled from a starting point and matches the play rate or the current frame of your starting animation to that distance, and does the same for a stopping animation. So it removes foot sliding from start and stop animations without compromising on the reaction speed of the character. It's still an in-place locomotion system that doesn't use root motion, but it also helps bring some of those more root motion qualities over to an in-place locomotion system. It also commonly does pivots, where you quickly switch directions, usually 180 degrees. Let's say you're strafing left and you switch to strafing right. Usually that transition is also distance matched. I never did get around to covering that in the series. I did it on my channel. And my plan is, with the new features in Unreal Engine 5, to do a new series. I've learned a lot since I've done that first one, and I'm going to do my best to do things right this time around. And the motion warping or pose warping, orientation warping rotates the legs around, and you can use between your animations. Like if you have a strafe left and a run forward, it might blend between those two animations back and forth when you're going all the way left or forward, but between those two, it'll pick one that it's closest to and rotate the legs so that they match up, removing the need for a blend space, which would cause leg crossing. So I have heard some interesting things about distance matching blend spaces recently. I'm curious to see that if that ever comes to Unreal Engine 5, because it's not the approach. I don't think it's the approach Epic used, but I know a couple of people who do that. So when opening doors and stuff, those transitions are a bit harder. Distance matching wouldn't really help you there. Distance matching is more for regular locomotion. When you're switching into playing a montage that's matched to an item like a doorknob, a lever, a button, there are different ways to do that. Contextual animations might actually really help with that. And maybe a mix of that, foot locking and inverse kinematics. You might be able to get rid of that sliding. But distance matching is just for regular locomotion, not montages that are being played to do things. But it really does increase the visual fidelity of locomotion. I definitely recommend going and just looking up some distance matching on YouTube. My older videos will probably come up, but there's some really great examples of what people have done with it, things that look fantastic. Lots of them a bit better than what I ended up with in that first series, but that'll give you a really great visual idea of what distance matching is doing. But Epic promised it would include it inside of Unreal years ago, and finally with Unreal Engine 5 it's here. It took them forever to get around to it, but it is here. Before, you wouldn't see it used, or much tutorials on it, or mini tutorials, I mean, on it, because the prediction code and the code to get the time on a curve value instead of the value on a curve time from a curve time, and there are just various C++ functions that would need to be coded to get this up and running, and now they're here inside of Unreal, so that's great. So distance curve name and should be distance. And I'm not going to touch play rate clamp because they haven't touched that in this forum guide either. So I'm going to continue reading through the forum guide now, which I've linked. Your animations are going to need a distance curve on them. You can use the distance curve modifier to generate a distance curve, but of course this only works with animations that have root motion. Otherwise there's no data to generate the curve from. Here's how to generate the curve. Okay, so I know that. Alright. So again, that's why I'm using a root motion animation to generate the curve. And I'm going to scroll a bit further down here for a second on this page myself and read ahead a bit so I can try to explain and to you guys what I'm doing a bit better than I currently am. So, okay, interesting. Okay, yeah. I'm not sure exactly how this all works, so I'm going to start playing around and trying to figure some stuff out. I'm going to go back and go into this locomotion loop. Oh, wrong one. Into here, this state, and delete that. Delete that new function that I made. I'm going to plug that blend space back in. And go back into Locomotion, and from idle, I'm going to create a new state that is a start. Plug that into the walk/run loop. And I'm going to create a new state that is stop. Plug that back into idle. Now for the transition between start and walk/run, I'm going to set it to automatic roll based on sequence, player, and state so that it transitions when the animation has ended. Do that for both of these here. Now if I go into start, I'm going to grab a forward start animation. A run forward start. Oops. Didn't let go of that. And I'm going to change this into a single frame animation. I'm just going to right click and click convert to single frame animation. I'll plug that in. And now take a look back at the forum post. And following along with this forum post here, I'm going to put this on become relevant. I'm going to create a binding and create a function and I'm going to name it distance matching on become relevant. And I'm not exactly sure what all this logic is doing, but once I'm done following along with this, we'll start playing around and really starting to figure out what this is doing. So again, I'm going to convert that to a sequence evaluator. I'm going to set explicit time. And the reason I'm doing this here is according to the forum post, when you go back into a state where you've already distance matched, it will try to begin playing the animation from the point where you left that state. So I'm gonna delete these two transitions, and I'm gonna paste this isMoving variable just from the third person character project animation blueprint. That's what I'm using for those of you who have recently joined the stream. So all the variables here are the ones that are in the regular third person character project. Now, from walk/run to stop, I'm going to use that same variable but with a not. Boolean node. Now, I go into start. I'm going to bind an event to on update. And this function I will call distance matching. And I'm going to convert this node struct to a sequence evaluator struct, and my curiosity is getting the best of me. I want to see if I can break any of these structs and look at what they're made up of. Not this one. Alright, not this one. Darn, that would have been fun. So, branch. Advance time by distance matching. So now I'm going to create a start distance real, which is what floats have been replaced with. And I'm going to create a stop distance real. I'm going to take this start distance and I'm going to plug it into distance traveled and name and put in distance. Actually, I'm going to rename this function to distance matching start. Actually, can I just add in a input and name it distance and plug that in here to distance traveled. That way I can just leave this function as distance matching and use it for both. If I go maybe that'll work. And I'm just reading through, trying to catch up on the chat here. So, is it possible to dampen the animation sequence, especially for idle? The character is resting for a long time, could breathe less and relax. You could definitely do that. Yeah, what you'd want to do is you'd want to have maybe inside of idle you'd have another state machine. This would have two states. I really like that idea, more a heavier breathing into a lighter breathing. And you might create one state called, I keep trying to type state names into here. You could name one heavy breathing. And then you could name one, keep trying to type state names in, light breathing maybe. And then that'd just be an automatic rule based on sequence player in state. And you'd play a heavy breathing idle, and you'd make sure you set it not to loop in your actual anim sequence player. and then you'd play a regular idle here and set that to loop. And that's how you'd build out an idle state with it would transition from one idle into another. So yes, I know I can open the content browser by hitting Control and Spacebar. If I've gone over, I guess I've gone over into this window to grab stuff, haven't I? Yeah, I have. It's just a force of habit. I've been mainly doing things in 4.27 since the couple of projects I've been working on. We've been using 4.27 until, because Unreal Engine 5 has the early access just wasn't stable enough for us. We kept running into bugs and issues. So as fun as it was, we've been working in 4.27. We switched to UE5, then back to 4.27, and maybe we'll switch back soon now that preview is out, but at this point we might just wait until the full release for that. No, animations without root motion will not work for distance matching. Now, if the best case scenario is to have two versions of one animation, one that's root motion, one that's in place, so that you can generate the distance curve for the root motion animation and then copy that onto the in place animation. You could also just use the root motion animation, but not actually use the root motion. Just ignore the root motion in the animation. And use the distance curve. You could try to take an in-place animation and manually create a distance curve, but I'm not sure. That would be hard to do. You want to start out with root motion because you're essentially taking that distance data that comes with an animation and you're baking that into a curve so that it can be applied to an in-place animation and used by distance matching to play only the frames of an animation that match with the distance that you've traveled. Okay. So if anyone has any questions, anything they want to ask, I'm figuring out how distance matching is implemented in Unreal Engine 5 right now. I'm trying to, but I'll try to answer everything I can. I'll periodically check back on the chat in the live stream. So I'm not sure if I'm just trying to figure out whether or not I can use this input here. I'm binding this, so it's calling the function from the node, I guess, and I'm wondering if it'll let me add an input onto the node or something because of that. An uncheck should loop. I don't know. So for now, I'm not going to use the distance input. I'm going to use the start distance variable that I created, and I'm going to rename this to distance matching start. So I'm going to open up this root motion run forward start, and now let's see. I'm going to go to Window, open up Animation Data Modifiers. I'm going to add this distance curve modifier. Actually, I'm also going to do a motion extractor modifier and a sync marker and a modifier because these all are added by that Locomotion library built-in plugin. I'm curious to see what they do. So I'm going to apply all modifiers, and did it really automatically? That's a left foot plant there. But it's probably better for looping ones because it's messed up a bit on the start. But it's awesome that we now have a foot sync creating animation modifier built into the engine. That's great. So and delete these out for the time being. There's distance, and I guess that motion extractor just gives us a route translation. Okay. Keep the distance curve. And I'm going to see if the plugin's animation modifiers are done in Blueprint. Only the sync marker one. I want to see how it works here. So, remove pre-existing sync markers. True. Remove all animation sync markers. So, okay, there's some functions here. Add any animation notify track. For left, right. Sequence length, sample step. For that by truncate, and then for each sample step, detect marker, time, the local time, cast to anim sequence, gets a local anim sequence, root motion, translation, trajectory reference, bone position, left foot bone position, right foot bone position, place marker for left foot. That is if the foot position minus the trajectory position, and less than. Okay, that's interesting. So this is the sync marker and a modifier. I'm going to look more deeply into this and try to understand everything here in the future. Maybe for a video I'll go over it and explain why or how it works. That might be interesting. But for now, I'm going to get back to distance matching and trying to figure that out. So we have a distance curve. So what we'd want to do, and we also need to set curve compression settings to uniform indexable. So I'm going to create a curve compression setting, and I'm going to name it uniform indexable curve compression settings. And I'm not change windows to open up my content browser again. Too worried about file structure right now for this stream. I'm going to set this to uniform indexable, save that, and now we need to, well, actually set our distance variables, and it looks like that forum guide doesn't have does have some stuff there. So stop. All right, so what was the name of that function? All right, so it's just predicting a stop and a pivot. That's fine, we can do the start ourselves, because the start is a whole lot simpler. So I'm going to get a new sequence. Put this in a comment. Sorry, I apologize for that sneeze. And I'm just gonna name this get variables from I'll name it set potential locomotion variables. Now I will create a new sequence here. And I want to test if... Actually, I want to get the current acceleration. Get the length of that vector. And I'm going to print that length as a string. Off of this node here. So now 1500 I let go, 0. Okay, that'll work. Yes, you can try adding in root motion to your animations manually in Blender. So instead of printing the string, I'm going to set this to the... I don't know why I keep trying to type names of the things I'm trying to create into here instead of creating those things first. So I'm going to create a real variable, and I'm going to set this name to acceleration. And I'm now going to spell acceleration correctly without typos. Okay, now down here, I'm going to get acceleration, check if it is greater than 0. I'm going to get a branch, and if it is greater than 0, I'm going to create a function. I'm going to call that calculate starting distance. So I'm going to get, so I'm going to get a sequence. Actually, I'm not sure if this will work as a function, because I need to save the location of the character when the character starts, and then follow, and then get that location stored in another variable as the character is moving. So, trying to think if I can do this all inside of a single function. I want to do a do once and set a starting location variable. I could do it in a function. I'd like to keep that temporary start location variable is a local variable. Yeah, no problem for the information. I'm if you have any more questions or want to talk more about distance matching, just ping me in the Discord, or if at some point in the future when the stream is over, just let me know in the Discord, and I'm happy to talk about this kind of stuff with all you guys there. So, starting distance, I'm going to, might be more complex. So at this point I'm trying to decide, do I want to make things slightly more complex to keep them all in a function, or slightly less complex and just do it outside of a function? I think I'm just going to do it outside of a function. I'm not trying to do everything perfectly here for this stream. I'm just trying to figure out some distance matching stuff in Unreal Engine 5. So if acceleration is greater than 0, I'm going to get a sequence. And off of that first execution, I'm going to get a do once node. I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to name it starting location. I'm going to set it to be a vector. And I'm going to set starting location. False is going to reset the do once. And I'm going to get to character. I'm going to get actor location. Plug that into starting location. And now, off the second execution pin, I'm going to set start distance. And I'm going to get, again, I'm going to get the actor location. And I'm going to get this starting location. And I'm going to get a distance vector node and plug that into start distance. Now I want to make sure this is working. So I'm going to get another print string. I'm going to print my starting distance. Yep, that's working. Nice. So now off of this false on this branch, I'm actually going to make this a sequence. You know what? No. Keep things tidy. I'm just going to duplicate this branch down here. I'll extend this comment down when I'm done. But this time, if this is false, if it is less than 0, so if I've taken my finger off the W key, or if I'm not, if I don't have that input, I'm just noticing now my webcam is saying recording paused. It does that after so long sometimes, and I've not figured out a way to get it to stop doing that yet. Wasn't trying to record. That's odd. I'll see if I can't get that working quickly. Here. If I can't, I'll just turn off my webcam for the rest of the stream. Alright, well, that seems to have fixed it. Okay. So, if I'm no longer accelerating, I want to calculate that stopping distance. So, to do that, now, actually, this is going to break some things. It's not going to work because I might have just started the game and I'm in an idle position. I'm not moving. And it's going to fire off a true and give me a predicted stop distance, which is fine. But we're running the code when we don't need to, and that isn't really great. So when acceleration is greater than 0, I'm going to set a boolean has moved. I put B's in front of my bowling dames because that's how it's done in code with Unreal Engine, and it's just the style guide it's just from a style guide I've been using for variable names and naming things and file structures for projects recently, and I've gotten used to it. So when that's true, we set has moved, and now if acceleration is false, I'm going to get a branch. I'm going to check if has moved is true. And if has moved is true, I'm going to set stop distance. And now I'm going to get predict ground movement stop location. I'm not going to worry about pivots in this stream. I definitely want to cover all this stuff in individual videos as part of a series on animation in Unreal Engine 5, where I want to do some really, really advanced, cool things. Distance matching would just be a little piece of that series. I've actually been planning on something big for an animation system series for a long time now. I was just waiting on Unreal Engine 5 to have new animation features before I started anything. So, let me get this vector length. Plug that into stop distance. Now, I'm just going to start plugging things in. Get my velocity. I'm going to get character. Going to get character movement. Alright, cool. Thanks for sticking with the stream as long as you did. Just thanks for sticking around. I'll definitely come back and give it a watch later, if you can. So now from character movement, I'm going to get use separate braking friction. Braking friction. Ground friction. Oh, I'm typing braking wrong. Huh. Braking friction factor. Finally, braking, deceleration, walking. Now, I'm going to get another branch, but I'm going to put it back after that stop distance. I'm going to create a boolean and name it debug. Plug that into the branch. If it's true, I'm going to draw a debug sphere. radius 35, duration 3, maybe. Line color, let's say green. And I'm going to copy these 3 nodes, and I'm going to paste them after the start distance. And I'm going to get starting location. I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to set this color to be that magenta. And now I'm going to set the default value of debug to true. And I'm going to play. So it's drawing the start location, but not the stop location. It is, but it might be long. So if acceleration is greater than 0, set has moved to true. Now, if acceleration is false and has moved is true, I'm going to print a string that says hello. I'll check and see if that logic works. So I should play. I'm going, I've stopped. It prints. Ah, that is why. Once this is true, this whole thing should be on a do once. And it should reset when this is false. And yeah, okay. Still not printing. Or showing that. We know it does this once, so velocity used up for braking friction, ground friction, braking friction factor, braking deacceleration, walking. We're gonna print stopping distance. $55. Did it once, it's not printing it anymore. Why not? This has moved as false, so that false shouldn't reset it, my bad. This false should set it. Like that. I would really like it to draw that sphere though. Debug should be true. Drawing that one. It's giving me a stop distance. And my webcam is acting up, so I'm just going to turn that off. I'm really not sure, but it's giving me a stopping distance. I'd like to make sure it's predicting that accurately, and I feel like it's not. Oh, I wonder. This is not predicting a stop location. It is predicting a stop location. I'm just setting that as a stop distance. I'm not getting the distance to that. So I'm predicting a ground movement stop location. Okay. Let me just print this. I'm gonna see. What sorts of numbers it's spitting out. So I'm starting at 900, 1000, 110. I'm gonna make sure I'm actually starting from the default player start. That should be close to those. It should not be printing it like that. It's off a do once and it's resetting when acceleration. Ah, I really am bad at this today. There. That was obvious in hindsight. Ah, okay, that's nice. So this isn't just giving me a location. It's giving me a location relative to the character. I don't even have to do that conversion. That's interesting. Very interesting. I have a feeling that I'll need to do some more stuff here, that this just won't work like it is. I'm still not sure what the whole thing is going on in the anim graph, exactly how that works yet. But actually getting into a start state would probably... On update, going back to the forum post I've been looking at, read through that text again. That's advanced time by distance matching. Put this over here so that I can see the state I'm in. I'm staying in idle. So, should be transitioning. I'm gonna use my should be, but not. So if acceleration is greater than 0, go into the start state. Let's see if that does it. Huh. Is it not gonna? Oh yeah, yeah, it's not that. It's I didn't take the steps I needed to actually watch this in real time and have it update. Not sure if I remember what those steps are. So I'm curious, what if I type in something like 5 into time? I just want to see if... Okay, it looks like here explicit time is supposed to be set to dynamic value. Now, yeah, that's just distance match to start. Let's put in slow motion. Yeah, I think that did it. There's still some foot sliding there, but that's due to blending. That should not be occurring. I'm gonna get that root motion run forward loop so that these match up. Oh. And I want to set that transition from idle to start to be the duration is 0. Oh, I already did that. Okay. Again, slow motion. Did not mean to swing around like that. Okay, something happened there. Let's look at this in regular speed. Ah, I see the issue. I need to go to my animation blueprint, edit defaults, root motion, ignore root motion, since I'm not using in-place animations right now. I didn't want to duplicate, since I didn't want to duplicate the curve values over. Whoa, look at that. I need to get it to go back into idle, even though it's not going into stop. But wow, that looked nice, I think. I need to change the idle animation, but there's a little bit of foot sliding. I think I'm in. I couldn't tell when that transition was. That looked pretty great. There's like a tiny bit, but wow. Okay. I think that's working. I'm not sure. That's a good idea, setting up a Paragon character with the new nodes. I'll definitely look into seeing if I can just use those animations for a video. I'm definitely going to use a full animation pack for a larger Locomotion series, but I think they should certainly have the animations required for basic distance matching. Yeah, they should. So good idea. Okay. Where was I? I'm in walk. I want to replace idle with idle. And now go back into stop. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this, run forward, stop, start, paste it here, plug that in, and I'm going to create a distance matching stop function. Now, what might be a better approach is have one distance variable And when you're starting, it's a starting distance. When you're stopping, you switch it over to be the stopping distance. But I don't know about that. So copy this out of distance matching start, paste it into distance matching stop. And I'm just going to replace start distance with stop distance. Oh. Forgot to plug those in. I'm going to go into my character. Does this, oh, I think I know the problem. I'm not sure if the start has the distance curve, but the stop does not. And I'm using run forward start. And I'm gonna use a left up, I guess. Run forward, stop, left up. And window animation data modifier. Like, put in that window over here. Distance curve, add. Great, okay. Now let's see. I'm skipping steps, I didn't change my animation. There we go. Bit late. I want to see, maybe my character's just stopping too fast for it, or something isn't working. So third person, blueprints, third person character. Oh wow, event graph's different. Much different. This is the third person character event graph. I haven't looked at this yet. Huh. Wow. Okay. On to character movement. Let's set use separate braking friction. No, braking friction should be, what's ground friction? Braking friction. All right. Let's see. Deacceleration, walking 500 maybe. I just want to get the character to walk a bit longer before they stop. That's better. But not matching up. Oh. Oh. I'm not using uniform indexable on my stop animation. It's super important. Otherwise, it's not going to read the curve. And the issues continue. Am I using the right animation here? When I added the curve too? Yes. And is explicit time dynamic? Yes. So that stop distance is a single value. And it shouldn't be what if I update it every tick and don't do the do once? I'm curious to see what happens. Hmm. That actually worked. That worked there, but it okay, but it didn't work the other times. What's going on here? I oh, yes, thank you. I did not apply the compression. I'm gonna scroll back through that forum post. And try something here. Back to stop on become relevant. I'll remove that binding. I'm going to create a binding. I'm not going to give this a name. I'm not sure what the result of this is going to be. But I'm going to set the time to go into actually, no, I'm going to get branch and I'm going to distance match to target. Gonna get the stop distance set this to be distance. Plug in the sequence evaluator. I might need to remove that on up. Now it's just a matter of trying to understand how this works. So that I can am I not moving into my stop? I think that's it. I'm not moving into my stop transition. Ah, I'm using is moving instead of acceleration. I bet if I get acceleration greater than 0, no, if 0, it's nearly equal 0, I'll enter stop. And enter start. If acceleration is greater than 0, I'll enter start. I stopped on time. Now I'm going to go back into my stop and I'm going to bind on update. Distance matching stop. And did I just recreate distance matching stop? Yeah, so. That was better. But it only worked once. So if I bind that to on become relevant, does it work? Yeah. It does. Now there's a bit of foot sliding there. And I think it's because of the clamp on the distance matching functions. If I set the play rate clamp to like 2 as the maximum, it's not good, but I just want to see if I can eliminate foot sliding by doing it, or if something else is causing the foot sliding. That made it worse. So I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna make sure I've applied this compression to both of them. It should be, but I just want to make sure. The foot sliding is still there. It shouldn't be. So is the prediction wrong? What if I set braking friction to... Maybe braking friction should be 1. There we go. Braking, it has to have a braking friction of 1. My animation's a bit too short for the stop. So it should finish playing out the animation. It should distance match and skip to the end of the animation. Unless oh yeah, definitely. It's working fantastically. This is really exciting. Yeah, definitely. Much easier than my implementation was. So I'm definitely gonna make a video on this without without me trying to figure all this stuff out in real time. So looks like that problem I'm having was addressed in the forum post. Bit distance matching isn't fast forwarding to your your stop animation to the end of it, and depending on your anim graph setup, it might not ever go to the next node in the state machine. Instead of using on become relevant function to reset the explicit time, you might use it to set the explicit time to the correct value to allow the animation to finish playing as the character comes to a full stop. You can use the distance match to target function for that, and you can use the predict ground movement stop location to calculate the distance needed. Ah, oh, I see. I see. So, if I understand this correctly, I might not, so I'm gonna hold off on trying to explain this until I see that it works, then I will. Can never find the right thing. Okay. The distance matching stop. I think I want to maybe. Okay, let's just see what happens. Alright, same thing. The idea is to start it. Now it's not working. So I think I have an idea. I start it so that it ends at the end of the animation. So that would mean I have the distance. That's how it's usually done, but this is treating it like it's a start. Like it's a start animation. I'm using the wrong one. I'm advancing time by distance matching instead of distance matching to target. So I think this should work. Yep. There we go. I was treating the starting animations like they were stopping animations. Now, so yeah, there we go. We have, and there's no strafing or anything, yet. But, or we're only using one start. Ideally, we'd have a 180-degree start, but it is a start. That was interesting. So if I start moving in the middle of the stop, it pauses, and that's my fault. I should not have done the logic like that. And just after start, it's fine, but start should be able to go to stop with the same logic as walk/run goes to stop, and stop should be able to go to start with the same logic. And now stop should go to idle when acceleration, when ground speed is nearly equal to 0. Now, there we go. We actually stop. I'm just sort of spamming to see what happens. Yeah. There's a little bit of foot sliding on that start animation. So I want to look into that. We're only using one stop animation. So it's a left foot up, so I want to see what it looks like when I stop with the right foot up. That looked pretty nice actually, but it wasn't too realistic, but there wasn't any big jumps like I expected. But, well, I think we got basic distance matching working within 2 hours inside of Unreal Engine 5, and I'm going to work on refining the system, and I'm going to make it into a video on the channel, start a series with it probably. I'll see what I'll look at the animations what the Paragon characters have, and I'll see if I can try to keep it all to a Paragon animation set. so that using a animation pack from the marketplace isn't required. We'll see, because I'd like to be able to do that if we can. I don't know why I didn't do that with my first video series on distance matching. Really, I should have. So, I have 14 more minutes left before I end the stream. I don't want to make it go past 2 hours. So, is there anything else you guys want me to look at before we end the stream for the day? There's just not enough time here to start looking at the other features. One thing I really want to look into, I'm definitely going to make a video on soon, is the IK retargeter. It's replaced how you actually retarget animations in Unreal Engine 5, and it also supposedly runs in real time. And I already talked about why that's so huge and why I really want to learn how it works and make some videos on it, because of, yeah, I mentioned that in my video I put out the other day on the preview being released. So I'll continue to look and tweak at this, but throw questions at me, ideas in chat, in the live stream, because I don't want to start with anything new right here, right now. Okay, anim notify events. That's something I can cover right now. It's actually fast enough. So the event for playing something like a footstep sound is pretty simple. You'd create, again, guys, I'm a bad example of organizing how you should organize blueprints in this live stream. You'd create a blueprint class, go to all classes, search anim notify, and anim notify, yeah, just regular anim notify. And I'll name this anim notify underscore footstep. And let's see. We have functions that we can override. So I'm going to go to that, and I'm going to override received notify. And now we'd simply play sound at location, and I could get my mesh component. And now we could get advanced and we could play a footstep sound at either of the feet, but I'm just going to get socket transform. I'm going to get the root bone. I'm going to break the transform, and I'm going to plug that into location. And now, I don't think there's a footstep sound in here. Maybe there is. No. What sounds do we have? The collapse sound, that would be fun. Compile failed. Let's do that. Compile failed. It's short enough that it's the same length as a footstep. So our compiles will fail every time we take a step. Gosh, that's like deep almost. You can never get anything to compile right on the first time, and with actual code, I've gotten better at that with blueprints, but with real code, man, that can be a challenge. Okay, so now inside of, let's grab a run forward loop. I'll grab the one that I'm using, and we have these notify tracks. So on a notify track, you can go and you can create new ones. So I'm just going to right click, add notify, click anim notify footstep. And now I'm going to cycle through, and wherever there's a footstep, I place the notify. So there's a footstep. So here we go. Now it plays a compile failed sound every time we take a step. You guys can hear the sound coming from that my computer's making, right? I think so. I'll double check to make sure that's streaming here. It is slightly funny. Yeah, it looks like it should be. But you'd, of course, replace that with an actual footstep sound. So I'm gonna look at some of this more distance matching stuff, but really, guys, don't hesitate if you have a question, even if it's something simple and little. Just let me know. And of course, you'd also take that anim notify and you'd put it on. Okay, that's loud. Your start animation and your stop animation, or your other animations. So really, if you have a question like the notify thing or anything else, anyone here, just ask and I will stop looking at this distance matching stuff in the next 8 minutes and answer, and do my best to answer. Oh yeah, no problem. I'm happy to help, because this distance matching stuff I'll be covering in subsequent videos anyway, so you're not really missing anything watching me struggle to understand some of this stuff. We'll start. I want to look at this advance time by distance matching. Advance the sequence evaluator forward by distance traveled rather than time. A distance curve is required on the animation that describes the distance traveled by the root bone in the animation. So if I open up start, it says that the distance has traveled 6.8. Let's look at the root here. To actually see that, I'm going to turn off enable motion. It's starting to move. The curve is fine. I don't like the bit of foot sliding we have at the start of this. Is it still blending? Because if it's blending from an idle into a start animation, that could be the issue. No, it's not. I do want to take a bit longer to blend stop into idle. It's a bit jarring. Watching that blend right now, I might actually change that to do inertialization. I forgot about that. And I'm notified. I'm gonna delete those for now. And now, and foot locking would fix it. And there's foot locking on Unreal Engine 5 now. It's something else I want to play with. But you know, I'm thinking, there's a period in the past where I actually streamed regularly once a week. And with all this new stuff here, I'm gonna have quite a bit of experimentation to do before I can necessarily put it into a video. But like I did with distance matching today, I'm thinking maybe I will keep streaming and keep experimenting. I've not tried the advanced locomotion system in this preview version of Unreal Engine 5. It works just fine in early access. I haven't tried updating it to the preview version yet. But I'm considering doing the streams once a week, and it's just me figuring some stuff out for the next video in the stream, and or me just here to answer your questions about Unreal Engine related things, whatever they may be. Because the animation system I want to do a tutorial series on, the ideas I have, they're big, and it's like, unlike distance matching, I'm gonna try to split it up in a modular sort of way, so that I'm working on components separately, so that if I get stuck on one component or it's not done, I can move on and start doing another component that doesn't require like orientation warping to be perfect, but that shouldn't be much of an issue. But I'm thinking of streaming myself, trying to figure out those things for the next videos, playing around with the new Unreal Engine 5 preview features. I do not think, I haven't found prediction nodes for jumping yet. I will take another look. I was thinking about that earlier. Distance, I spelled that wrong. Predict. It looks like there's only a predict ground movement stop location right now. There might be more in a pivot location. That didn't show up, did it? When I searched predict. Okay, it did show up. There's a pivot and a stop. There's no jump. The jumping shouldn't be too hard to figure out. I took a very rudimentary, overcomplicated approach to it in my distance matching series. The advanced they might be. It's not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how it's done. How it's done in that system, but it might work well enough. But I'll look into jump prediction on my end. UI navigation. I might have heard of that before. I'm not familiar with it though. Oh, there's more in the character blueprint. Thanks. I should have thought to look at that. Is there a component? So yeah, ALS is a fantastic out-of-the-box system. Paragon characters are great too. I'm gonna Google UI navigation. Oh. Oh. Huh. That's not even something I thought about. So that's definitely would be challenging to implement. Pull up the YouTube video on it now. Free plugin, and I'll just let that play here. Yeah, that's key remapping too. That's awesome. I'm gonna grab this and look at it, and definitely share it around with some friends, because I never heard of it, and I never even considered how difficult it would be to get things set up for a UI to work with the controller. But I'd have to say the advanced locomotion system is my favorite so far of all the marketplace stuff. Yeah, exactly. The button and gamepad input. Yep. So having all that sort of set up out of the box to tweak and get working is fantastic. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna have to grab this and look at it. Whoops. So yeah, Looks great. Thanks for letting me know that that exists. And I want to get back to the new distance matching nodes and Blueprint. Yes, I am working on multiple projects, actually. There's one project that I'm working on two projects, one that I can't say anything about, and one that I also can't say anything about. One project is one that I'm like co-leading, and it's a much more recent project. I'll definitely talk about it more on the channel when we're closer and we're actually want ourselves to be known. It's not a video game project yet, but it will be in the future. It's like the first step towards that. It's metaverse related, actually. Really interesting stuff. And I'll be able to talk more about it in the future. But the other project, regular video game, I joined up on a team because I just really liked the idea that they had, and I'm at the lead of that team. 2 or 3 years ago now. 2, I think, actually. And I joined up pretty soon after that, and we've been working away for a while now. But most of us did that. I was still pretty new to things at that time and learning a lot of stuff. Everyone else was newer than me, and we spent a lot of time just trying to learn and figure out how stuff worked. But I'm definitely going to give that project a shout out when we're ready to give it a shout out. But yeah, there's 2 projects I'm working on currently, plus the YouTube channel. And if any of you are interested in helping out on that second project, the video one that's definitely a video game, we do not have the resources to pay anyone yet, but if you'd like to help out as a side project, or we'd be happy to have you. So shoot me a message on Discord, a private message, if you're interested in working on a medieval fantasy RPG game that's a bit more grounded. Bit like, not grounded as in less fantasy, more realism, but it's hard to describe. I don't really have an elevator pitch on me with me at the moment, but really interesting magic system. Physics based, because we have multiple people on the team who know physics. One that's pretty close to a PhD level isn't there, but the physics-based magic system, we have a geologist as the person who works on who's working on the world and the map for the world. So yeah, we definitely appreciate the help if anyone here is interested in working on a game and doesn't mind not being paid yet. Yeah, shoot me a message and I'll hook you up with the lead of that project, because we're looking for people to help. Yep, I'll definitely see you later, Daniel. I'll definitely remember that Paragon setup with the new animation stuff. I'll definitely, if the big Locomotion series I do, if it needs a full marketplace animation pack for me to be able to do everything I want to do and touch everything I want to touch on, I'll do separate side videos on a Paragon Locomotion system in Unreal Engine 5. But I think I should be able to do everything I need to do with the Paragon animations. So it's definitely on my list. Alright, so it's been about 2 hours, and I'm going to end out the stream here. I had lots of fun. I'm not sure if we'd need a programmer to get that kind of stuff worked in. Yeah, we definitely need a few programmers for that. We don't have programmers. We have a couple of programmers on the team, but yeah, we definitely want to try to expand out. We're only scratched the surface, and the more people we get, the better of product we'll end up having. Yeah, I enjoyed doing the stream, and if you guys have suggestions for future streams, things I could be doing better, because I've been doing the YouTube video thing longer than I've been doing the streaming thing, so I definitely appreciate advice or tips, things you liked, things you didn't like. Let me know in Discord, and I will see you all in the next video and the next stream. I definitely want to do more of these. I'll let you guys know in the Discord channel. I'll do an announcement ahead of time for whenever the next stream is, and at that point it'll be a schedule. I'm thinking I might just continue to do this same time every Friday, but I will leave it to a vote and give you guys all in the Discord a few different options. And I'll do a YouTube vote too, so everyone who's subscribed can come in and vote on that as well. So yeah, I'm gonna end out the stream. Otherwise, I will continue to ramble on indefinitely. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate having you here. It's definitely the biggest stream I've done so far. So yeah, thanks for being here. I'll see you guys all in future streams, future videos, or in the Discord.